Smart strategy, real conversations, bigger margins. This is Chasing the Margin podcast.
All right, well, welcome back to Chasing the Margin. Today we are welcoming back our first repeat guest, Mr. Ivan Funes. Ivan was the very first guest, and Ivan, we're happy to have you on.
Awesome. Well, glad to be here. Glad to be the first every time. Obviously, we did something right? But no, glad to be here. Excited for today.
I feel like even within your family or within your friend group or within your life, you're just used to being the first within many aspects of life. So why not be the first here as well?
Hey, why not? Let's chase the margin.
So Ivan, for anybody who hasn't seen your first episode, kind of give us a rundown of who you are, what you do, why you're on the podcast.
Gotcha. So my name is Ivan Funes. I'm the owner of Wolf Motors, which is an, luxury exotic car dealership that we own here in Addison, Texas. We're coming up on a year of being open, and things are going great so far. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into specifically the dealership, and then we're going to dive into a lot of specific questions. But why is it that you chose to go the route of a dealership on your own, not branched underneath like a Chevrolet or a Ford or a Toyota? Why did you choose to just completely branch out instead of just being a franchisee?
So the indie world, right, independent versus franchise, it's easier, right? And to get in the franchise space, it takes not only you being great at the business, right, but it also takes a lot of politics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen some guys that have franchise stores that probably don't belong having franchise stores, but they do. It is what it is, right? But franchise deals are harder to get because not only have to be vetted by the franchise themselves, you have to have someone else give you that spot to actually get in there. Some guys, have all the talent in the world, but they never get their shot. I wouldn't say that's what happened to me, but it's happened to a lot of guys that I know. I'm like, hey, that guy deserves a Chevy store or a Toyota store or a Nissan store, right? And they never get it. And they end up being a sales director or a finance director or a general manager for years and never get their shot at owning their own store. So when I kind of saw that and writing on the wall, I was like, hey, you know what? And like I said in my last podcast, I made people millions of dollars. Why not make it for myself? And I'm like, I know all the business. I've been a GM. I've ran pretty much every aspect of a dealership. I'm like, let me just go ahead and try it. And there is a way, I've seen other independents that eventually get their franchise, get a franchise store after opening up their own independent. Okay. So that's not off the table. So Toyota, Nissan, Chevy, if they come and they say, hey, look, we like what you guys are doing, and they want me to run a franchise store, I'd be open to that as well. But just I felt like it was going to take forever for me to get a franchise point, so I decided to go ahead and do it on my own.
Yeah, well, I've heard this analogy a lot in sports, mm-hmm. where maybe basketball is a good example because there's so few people on a team, so mm-hmm. therefore there's so few people within the NBA,
right?
That they'll say a lot of guys that never make it are just as good as the guys who made it, but I don't know if you want to call it luck or, politics, definitely
everything.
Politics.
It's a mix of everything, luck, talent, and, politics, honestly. Yeah. So it's a mix of everything. Right time at the right place, you made an impression on the right person, and that just kind of excelled you. So I know guys that have franchise stores, and they're great, right? And I know guys that don't have a franchise store, and they should, right? So I just didn't want to play the game. I was like, let me just go ahead and do it on my own.
So then I guess could you say to a certain extent, regardless of how hard you work within a franchise store, there's a possibility that it may never happen just because. Because
the cards you were dealt just didn't, you didn't have the best hand. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think, as you, knowing a lot about you and then all of our guests who have come on who are entrepreneurs, knowing that their destiny is not in their own hands would really be unsettling for those people.
And that's how I feel. One of my biggest mentors always told me, hey, look, I'm not going to put my paycheck in someone else's hands if I fail because it was me, or if I knew that I maximized this deal or whatever, right? Or I worked the deal properly and we were able to sell it or sell it or not sell it, then I know there wasn't a deal there, right? Or, I didn't make the money because X, Y, Z. Right. When it's in your hands, okay, cool, I can live with that. But when it's in someone else's hands, a lot of people are like, no, yeah, I'm out on that. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs are the same way, which is why they go off on their own.
Yeah, for sure. So since you've been on,
Yeah.
I think we were getting close to a full year in business when
Right.
you were on last,
Right.
but now we're past a full year in business.
Right.
So just talk to me. How's that been since last time you were on? How's a full year? What's it feel like?
Man, it's a lot. There's ebbs and flows. What I always say, the high, it's sales, right? The highs are high, the lows are low. It's been a learning curve, right? We grew really fast, and you have 2, 3, 4 good months, and you have that one bad month, and I think I'm probably not the only entrepreneur or business owner that is like, hey, we're gonna kill it every month, and then you have one bad month or 2 bad months, and you're like, oh shit, right? It's bad. So we grew really fast. So that was a really big, slap in the face. Like, hey, you're growing too fast. Slow down, because I was trying to take it on as fast as we were growing. And I've seen a lot of videos that say like, hey, stay small as long as you can. Keep your expenses low. And we did, but we were still growing at such a rapid pace, and it skyrocketed, which is not a bad problem to have. But you run into the issues of cash flow and, the headaches that you're about to have this year, which, I didn't collect every W-9 from every vendor. Yeah, you're about to have to figure that out. I didn't collect a W-9 from everybody. I was just cutting checks left and right for vendors and not keeping track of my books. And the biggest thing that I learned are 3 things this year, 4. You're going to grow fast, slow it down as much as you can, hire a good CPA. Shout out to my guy Troy here. Hire a great CPA, a good controller who manages the day-to-day, because you think you're making this, but the little onesie, twosie things add up really fast, and you're not making that. And then number 3, have a great attorney, because the moment that you're starting to kill it, there's always someone that's going to try to chase you down and try to take it from you. So I learned that this year in every aspect. So I would say those key people: CPA, controller, and a good attorney.
Yeah.
Which thankfully I was able to hire all of them, thanks to my guy here, Troy. Shout out again. But no, those big. It's been a wild roller coaster this whole year, honestly. But I'm happy. I'm elated. We've grown. We started with 2 employees. We now have 13 employees. We've been able to put family on payroll, retire my parents. So it's been amazing. We're excited what 2026 is going to hold for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the growth specifically, because I think that'll be good for people to hear about.
Right.
And as you found out, and as we know as well, growth is exciting, but there are so many challenges that you don't know until you get into it. Then all of a sudden it becomes this big headache. So for us, and you tell me your experience, as we were growing the firm, it probably takes realistically 6 months, maybe a year, to train somebody who's like within our industry, because
Right.
there's so many things you have to know. So when some of these laws came out,
Right.
we were just exploding with clients, and a person can only handle so many clients. So we
Yeah.
kept having to hire. And then all of a sudden it was like those people take 6 months, so they don't really make a lot of money
Right.
in the meantime. So then all of a sudden you're paying for them, then you got to hire again,
Yeah.
and it compounds on top of itself. And
100%.
even though the top line is going up, that margin's getting real thin because of the growth. Is that kind of what it was like for you guys?
100%. So the great part about me, I generally hire veteran people or people that have worked for me in the past. Worked with me in the past, just because it's easier and they already know how I operate and kind of my business model. However, in other stores, when I've hired people, it's a 90-day learning curve, especially if they have no experience, right? And even if they have 4 or 5 years experience, they have to get acclimated to the way that you do work. And this whole time, that payroll expense is still there, right? The bills I always say the mailman never takes a day off. The bills are still coming on the 1st, 4th, 5th, whatever day it is, right? So you have to be able to outrun that expense. And if that person that you hired didn't raise your net, essentially, you're taking a loss. And if that person in the car business, right, if they don't work out in 90 days, then you let them go. But in your sense, your business, you're saying 6 months. I mean, you spent whatever you paid that person, multiply that times 6 months. That was an expense that you never got a return on your money. So it's tough. And I've been in situations where I'm like, hey, you know what? It probably behooves me to take a little time to train this person to get them to the level that I need them to perform. Because if not, you just threw that money away.
Yeah.
And to hire quality candidates, I'm sure you've experienced this, it's tough. It's tough to find a great employee because no one's going to care as much as you care, right?
Right.
It's your business. But there are some people out there that care and love the company as much as you do, but they're diamond does. I mean, it's like finding a diamond in a rough. Like, it's tough.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's tough to find good people, and if you don't retain them, it costs you a lot of money. So it's best for you to try to hire the best that you can hire and spend a little time in that first, I call it the honeymoon period, in the honeymoon period to get them to the level that you want to perform as fast as you can, because if not, you're just throwing your money away.
So then this might play into that. You know, as you've grown, I'm sure your role has changed significantly since opening, and it will probably continue to be like that for several years. What do you think it is that you spend most of your time doing now? And also, is that what's most important to the business, or is it something else that is more important and you just don't get to spend as much time?
So the biggest thing that I spend on now is retail. Like, how many cars are we selling? What appointments do we have? Because that's what pays the bill. That's income producing tasks.
Yeah.
Right? Working deals, closing deals. I focus more on that now. When we first opened, I focus on sourcing cars and, trying to find the next guy to come on board and managing the accounting side and managing the title paperwork, all things that were very tedious tasks. And I learned this because I wanted to do it all on my own. And I'm like, hey, you're going to have to hire people because I just didn't have enough bandwidth. But I also didn't want to share that expense. Then I'm like, hey, if I can pay this person $2,500, $3,000 to take this off my plate, can I maximize 3-4 hours that I was spending a day doing that and do something else that produces more income? Yes, then you need to do that. But the first 6 months, I mean, I had a tough time letting go. And my wife, she's like, babe, you have to let it go. Like, you're going to have to pay someone to do it, do it themselves versus you doing it, because you can do other high level stuff that other people can't do, which is true. So now I focus more on the income producing stuff versus the clerical stuff, which is what I was doing. And it was consuming like hours of my day to where I wasn't focusing on. In the car business, we say focus on the main thing, which is the main thing, which is selling cars.
Right.
You sell cars, you have income. You're not selling cars, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Your paperwork and everything else can be perfect. But if you have no cars, if you have no money coming in, guess what? You're not going to be open in a couple months.
Yeah. So
cash flow is king.
So then are you actually out there talking with the customer, finalizing deals with the sales guy, or what exactly do you consider retail?
So sometimes when I have to, I will. If the phone rings and all my guys are with clients, I'll take the phone call, talk to somebody from out California and sell a car, no problem. When I say retail, it's like, okay, let me structure this deal. This person has this much cash down, submit it to the bank, or, hey, the trade that they have, it's not worth what they think it's worth. Can I put more money in the trade? Things like that. Like actually structuring up a deal to where, hey, this is not a deal, but I get involved. I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to make it a deal. Let me call the bank. Let me call the VP at this bank and, hey, can you do me a favor? Can we structure up something how the deal makes sense for everybody involved, the customer, ourselves, and also the bank? So that's what I mean by that. And, with 17 years of experience, you see the same scenario over and over again. You kind of know how to pivot and how to put a deal together. So that's what I mean by that, is you get involved in the retail side. Because, if I've been in the business 17 years, someone else has been in the business 10 years, odds are I've seen that scenario or have figured out how to put that deal together versus the other guy has. And it's just 10 years, not because I'm smarter, it's just because you've seen it in the past. Yeah. So I focus on that more now than the clerical stuff, which is what I was trying to focus on at first, but that stuff doesn't make income. It's good, probably makes your job easier, but it doesn't make income. Yeah. So you got to focus on the main thing, whatever your business is. Focus on the main thing is the main thing. And the main thing for us in our business is sell a car.
Yeah. Well, anybody that knows you knows that you're a very outgoing person. You're a very likable person. So people just enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
So selling, with those traits just comes a lot more natural
Yeah.
than doing back office stuff.
Yeah. And I was going nuts. You look at numbers. I don't know how you do it. I was sitting there looking at numbers. I'm like, scratching my head. I need to take a walk.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I would go through lunch and I'd, not leave for lunch. And I was like, you need to figure, like, you have to leave the store for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Which in the car business, it's unheard of for you to go take a lunch. But I started blocking out my calendar like, hey, I need to get out of the store and then recharge and come back in because I'm there at 8 and I leave at 7.
Yep.
Right. So they're long days. But now that I kind of delegated, everybody has their own responsibilities. It's made everybody's job a lot easier. And we focus on the main thing, which is retail.
Yeah. So with the deals itself, because at a certain level, you can make exceptions because it's your money at the end of the day. So, you could sell a car for a loss because the only person it really impacts is you.
Right.
So you have the authority to do that. We've toyed with this within our business because as we grow, like it doesn't make sense for every single decision to go to a partner. Like we've got better things to do. No. So have you kind of put things in place with your sales guys where it's like, hey, up to this point, whether it's a trade-in value or something like that, you can just do this. You don't need to get me involved. Have you done things like that?
100%. So I learned this from a guy. Again, I'm a sponge, right? I listened to people, and I met a guy also in the independent world, and he has a dealership in Nebraska, but lives here in Dallas. And I met him at a local restaurant that we go to all the time, and he's like, I'm like, how do you manage your store from here? He's like, man, I have these managers in place. I'm like, no, I need to be in my store every day. He goes, hey, man, let me tell you something. If you trust your guys, then you should give them the leeway. And if you don't trust your guys, then you got the wrong guys working for you. He goes, I manage my store from here. He's like, you got to give them enough rope to hang themselves with. Mm-hmm. He goes, and you just give them the red lines. But if you never give them a little bit of rope, guess what? They're never gonna figure out, how to run the store or how to run your business. So yeah, I have what's called red lines now, on a trade-in or on a price of a car or, just different things. Like, hey man, for this, you don't have to call me. Mm-hmm. If a customer's upset over something that costs $500, just write the check or pay for the part, whatever it is, just make the customer happy because that's big on me. Because if it gets to me, guess what? I'm paying.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the customer happy, whatever it takes. Yeah. But like, hey, don't miss a deal over $500. Don't miss a deal over $1,000. So we have red lines and I guess safeguards in place that, hey, make the deal. And everyone at my store has autonomy to make a decision where they don't have to walk in my office, every 5 minutes. Because then I can't get my stuff that I'm focusing on done ever. Right. And which was happening the first 6 months. It's like, man, you guys are walking in here I can't concentrate. And that's when mistakes get made. Mm-hmm. So I gave everybody autonomy and I kind of gave them their safeguards of, hey, you guys can do this, make a decision.
Yep.
Act like if it's your money, because it is your money, right? You get paid off of commission. So it's going to come out of your comp. What makes sense? Does it make sense to do this and make it right? Or does it make sense to do this to close a deal? If it makes sense, pull the trigger. Let's go. Yeah. Right. And they're still learning some stuff because they push some boundaries sometimes, which is fine. But that's the only way they're gonna learn. So you got to give them some leniency. You got to put some safeguards. You got to put some control in their hands so you can manage the other important stuff.
Yeah, that's something that we track our time because that's how we bill.
Right.
So it's very obvious, like when I'm going through and putting in time slips, like what I did. And that was happening more and more is like I get to the end of the day and I've got 3 or 4 hours missing. Mm-hmm. And I think that as you grow as a business owner, people don't realize how many of these little 5-minute conversations you have during the day. So putting things like that in place, to me, will pay so many more dividends than losing, like you said, $500 on a deal here and there. Even if it's every deal, I'm sure it still wouldn't matter. It'd be more valuable to have your time than to be involved in everything.
Yeah, I mean, just do the math. 5-minute little meetings 10 times a day, that's pretty much an hour. Do that times a week. I mean, times a month, a year. I mean, the pennies add up.
Yep.
Real quick.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So let's talk about, because your business has a lot of inventory. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you about that, and that kind of plays into the cash flow thing.
Right.
As you're growing, obviously, the goal was to buy more cars, have
Right.
larger inventory, have nicer cars, et cetera, et cetera. Was that something that you ran into with the cash flow issue where either you were too heavy on inventory or you had the wrong inventory? Has that been an experience or has it been pretty good?
No, so it's been an experience. So we quadrupled our inventory, right, which was great, but you have a good variety of inventory mix. However, when you're because we started undercapitalized, right? Well, I'll be honest, right? We didn't have $2-3 million in the bank. That was never a thing.
Most people do.
Most people do. We were not, right? We were like, hey, we got enough for 90
No, I'm
days.
saying most people start undercapitalized.
Okay, most people do. I thought you said most people do. I was like, not me. No, so we started undercapitalized. We're like,
Yeah.
hey, we got for 90 days. Let's rock and roll. And with the cars we were selling, it was all great. But we quadrupled our inventory and we had some $200,000-$300,000 cars. Guess what? I mean, you might sell 2 or 3 of those, right? But you have that money coming out, but that money hasn't hit yet. And yes, you have funds coming in, but it might take 4 or 5 days. And you got $1.5 million tied up. I mean, things get scary real quick.
Yeah.
So it's not that we had the wrong inventory, it's that it grew so fast with us still kind of being undercapitalized that it caused some strain, not on everybody else, but mainly on me because I'm the one managing the bank account, right? So that was kind of a learning curve. Like, hey, we can't go from $1 million in inventory to $4 million like this, because what's going to happen is you're going to tie up that cash, you're going to sell it fast, and that money's not going to hit for a couple of days. And that float, I call it a float. That floating, those floating days, that's what kills you, right? Because you have money, but it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
That's what I learned the hard way. So we're going to continue scaling. I already have a feeling it's heading in the right direction. But this time I'm not going to do it as fast. I'm going to do it slowly, like 15% increments slowly and grow it. But the way that I did it, 6 months ago, I was like, dude, like, what were you thinking? But you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's still been fun. But that's the only thing that happened is inventory grew. You're selling cars, but the money's not coming in as fast as you're expecting it to. There's a slight delay, right? Like if you tell me you want to buy a $200,000 car, cool, you give me a $10,000 deposit. I mark it sold, but you got to clear some stocks, and it's going to take 5-6 days to hit my account. You see what I mean? And I can't go. Yeah, all of a sudden that 5 days on $1.5 million, it ties up capital.
Yeah.
So it gets tricky.
Yeah, I find like macroeconomics very interesting in general. And when you look at these like very large companies, like 2 days of difference in something hitting the bank, you're talking about significant amount of money.
It's massive.
Yeah, because you've got most of the time, a lot of them work on like some type of line of credit.
Right.
And when you're talking big dollars, like interest on just a day or two really starts to add up
real quick.
And people just look at that. The one day, it's like, it's just, whatever, $50, or it's a small number. And then all of a sudden it compounds.
But if you do that $50, right?
Exactly.
Times 15 deals.
Yeah.
Times 5 days. You do that weekly, monthly. I mean, you're talking, for a business like mine, you're talking probably 40, 50 grand. What would 40, 50 grand to your bottom line? Could you expand? Could you have more inventory? Could you hire more? Could you hire 2 title clerks? Like, right? You could use that 50,000. So, you got to watch every single penny. And I've learned that.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way when the inventory grew at a rapid pace. And we were selling cars, right? So it's not like the volume wasn't keeping up, but I had to learn, like, okay, I gotta manage this like timely. So if I have a customer that's here on a Monday and he's like, hey, I'm gonna give you a deposit, but my money's not gonna hit till Friday. And I have a same customer, right? Customer B, who's like, hey, I'm here and I'm gonna send you a wire right now. I'm taking customer B. I don't even care if customer A is paying $500 more. For cash flow purposes, it makes more sense to take customer B.
Yeah.
So I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that. So with things in the car, well, not just the car business, with things with the federal rate right now, I was curious because the Fed rate has been going down.
Absolutely.
This year.
It's good for us.
So that's what I was going to ask. Has that impacted you? How has it impacted you? Take me through like maybe a deal a year ago versus a deal recently.
Majority, I would say probably 70%, 75% of customers are payment buyers. Even if they have money for the cash to pay car cash, they're still financing it because it makes sense, right? To not just spend money on a car. It's not an asset; it's a depreciating asset. But if you're willing to pay $750, $800 a month, you're like, oh, my really budget was $600. Well, now that the rates drop, you can afford that car. That car's now $600, just like the mortgage industry, right? Those people that didn't qualify for a $2,000 mortgage now qualify for $1,700 mortgage because the rates drop. Same thing. Tax time is coming up, right? Rates being lower, people getting higher returns than they've ever in the history that I guess returns have happened. They're buying more cars. So rates being lower, I mean, it helps us tremendously because people qualify for more car and can afford the payment on a car that that's maybe it might be a $5,000 difference, right? That they couldn't afford a payment for every $1,000. It's $20. So you're talking a $35,000 to $40,000 car. That might be $100 in payment.
Wow.
But now that the rate's lower, they're like, hey, I can swing that payment now. I'll buy the car.
Yeah.
So rates going down affects our industry tremendously.
What's the average rate right now on just maybe like a 700 credit score type person, or just kind of the average buyer?
High fours, mid fives.
Okay.
For great credit, good, decent down payment, 60 to 72 months. High fours, mid fives.
And then at the peak of like the worst point in interest rates, what was it?
Oh man, 800 beacons were paying 7.5% to 8.5%.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like stars aligned, and they were paying 7. And they, what's crazy is the people that have that type of credit, when that happened, because you feel kind of not embarrassed, but a little like ashamed that, hey man, this is what your rate's gonna be, and they knew, like, I know the rates are high.
Yeah.
So they understood, right? It's the 650 to 700 credit score. They're like, their rate sounds kind of high, but they just don't follow the market. But those are the people that now the rates has dropped, they can qualify for the higher cars. But no, I mean, at the peak, I mean, we're signing people up at high 7s, mid 8s.
Yeah.
Which was crazy to me. I would never pay that. But that's what people were paying. That's what the market was. And the crazy thing about the car business, guess what? You're always going to need a car.
Yep.
You're always going to need a house, right? So it might slow down, but it's not going to go away.
Yeah. You're always going to have taxes, Ivan. So you're always going to need a tax guy.
I know, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. We had to buy a car during the peak of that because I think one of our cars got totaled, or it just wasn't worth a repair or something. And when they told me, I think the rate on that was 8.5. When they told me that, I was like, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like they had the same reaction you did. It was almost like they were embarrassed or felt bad because there's nothing they could do about it.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, it's not us. The dealers isn't making up the rate. It's the bank. I tell people all the time, like, hey, look, we're using the bank's money. So am I, right? It's like we're to the mercy at the bank. And a lot of people think like, well, you guys are the dealers, you guys make up the rate. No. We're following the Federal Reserve or whatever, Capital One or bank, whatever bank gives us the money or the approval. If they say the rate's this, guess what? The rate's that.
Yeah.
We don't make the money off that.
So let's talk about the lending side a little bit more and dive into that. I know that I believe you mentioned this on the podcast, or maybe you mentioned it in conversation with just me and you.
Yeah.
But you've talked with other guys that are in dealerships similar to you, and some of them just are cash. Like they didn't even entertain having relationships with banks. And I know that was always important to you because it made a huge difference in your ability to sell. Mm-hmm. So one, kind of talk to me about how you were gaining these people who are willing to lend to your customers.
Right.
And then two, is it easier to get a larger bank willing to do this, or is it easier to get like a local bank to do stuff like this?
Gotcha. So the relationships with me and the banks, I came from a franchise atmosphere, so I've already dealt with the bigger banks and everything else. So they kind of, the guys that are willing to take me on, it was kind of already a home run, kind of a sealed deal, like, hey, whenever you open up your spot, like, we're going to be there for you.
Yeah. Which
was great. But to get a big bank, if you're an independent and have no relationships, I mean, minimum requirement's 5 years for you to be in business before they even talk to you. I mean, you can't just call Bank of America, Wells Fargo, like, hey, come be one of my, preferred lenders. They won't even meet with you.
Yeah.
It's easier to deal with the credit unions, which I have a lot of. I have one major bank at my store, but it's because I cultivated that relationship for 17 years. But most people, you have to be in business for 5 years or 2 years. I mean, it's 2 years, I think, is the minimum of one of their bigger banks. but I mean, they won't even talk to you. So it's tough. A lot of independents don't make it because they don't have those banks. If they had those banks, they would give franchise stores a run for their money. But it's so hard to last 2 years with just only taking cash deals or only taking, credit union deals.
Yeah.
Because, if you're in my space, like 50% of my customers, we ship out of town. So the credit unions only lend to people that live in Texas. So you have a Florida, California buyers, which are majority of our buyers. I can't lend to them, hey, either send me a wire or I'm sorry, I can't sell you the car.
Ouch.
Which they want to buy it, you want to sell it, you just don't have the financing for it.
Yeah.
So luckily I've been able to, blessed enough to have one of the major banks, and we're doing 20, 25 contracts a month with them.
Wow.
Which is great.
Yeah,
So,
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's tough to get the big banks if you're an independent.
So then you may be biased on this question, and I have a pretty strong opinion of it.
Right.
And you and I probably agree on this opinion based off what I think your bias is, but let's hear it anyway. Do you think that, because a lot of people say they're an entrepreneur, and then it's the whole like, I can never imagine myself working for anybody, blah, blah, blah. Do you think it's important for people to learn under somebody and like spend the time, even though it may be frustrating because they want to work for themselves, but to try to just humble themselves and learn? Because then not only do they learn, but they gain a lot of these relationships, skill sets, which is what you're talking about with the lenders here, that there's no way they could have done on their own, or if they did, they would go through a lot of pain to get there.
No, absolutely. You have to humble yourself and work for somebody else. Number one, you got to know what it feels like, okay? Because if your plan is to eventually be on your own, you got to know what the people that work with you and for you feel like as well, right? So whatever you didn't like from the person you work for, whatever you did like from that person, you want to mimic that, right? Or, hey, man, I really hated working for that guy. I know what not to do. You did learn something. So I would say absolutely humble yourself, work for somebody, and work for an expert. Even if that person's not the nicest person, learn from them, because you can learn the best parts of that person. And then you know that, hey, I'm going to run it like him, but I'm also going to be completely different in the sense that I'm going to take care of my people, right? I'm going to give them the time off they need. I'm going to care about their families. And in this day and age, that means more to people now than the money.
Yeah.
And for the longest, I couldn't fathom that, because I was like, hey, man, if we pay, you want to work here, even though if it's, a toxic work environment. No, it's not. That's not what people care about anymore. They care about mental health. They want to be, they want to be able to go to their kids' recital. They want to go out on date night. They want to go leave their anniversary or to have their birthday off. That's big to people. Me growing up in my, when I was at the car business, like, it's my birthday. Yeah, I'm at work. I need to sell a car, right? That's all I cared about, but it's different now. But no, for sure, I would say definitely work for somebody else. Learn what you like about them and learn what you don't like about them. And that way you can prepare yourself to when you do your own deal, like, hey, look, this is how I'm going to run it and this is why. And make it somewhere that somebody wants to work at. But definitely work for somebody that's doing it at a very high level, right? And don't think you know it all, because you don't. You need to learn from them first, so then you can succeed in your own deal.
Yeah, I think that my advice would be, people need to understand that being successful and winning at whatever you're trying to do is not always measured in monetary terms. And I think that that's kind of what you're inferring, is that you can be winning without making a ton of money, because you can be learning so much underneath somebody that if the end goal even is to make a lot of money, I don't think people understand how far they can slingshot themselves forward in a very short period of time if
100%.
they've built a very good base.
100%.
And I think that that's the problem, is everybody's so focused on, well, this job is $10,000 more, and it may be somebody who's inexperienced in a toxic environment, so it's really hard to learn. And yeah, you made $10,000 or more than this other guy for 3 years, so that's $30,000. But if you would have humbled yourself and worked for this other guy, then 5 years after that, you'd be making $100,000 more a year because of what he could have taught you, or the relationships with the lending stuff that you could have had. And when you look at that, it's not even close which one of those is better.
The money will come, and that's why I tell people all the time, the money will come. if you do things the right way and you don't take the path of least resistance, the money will come, right? And a lot of people don't get that. They're like, well, they just see dollar signs. I'm like, it's not going to last. Anything that you make money quick and it's fast, it doesn't last. It generally doesn't last. There's some that do, but it generally doesn't last. So humble yourself, go work for somebody, learn the ropes, right? And then do your deal the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that also when the money comes fast, I've thought about this a lot recently because it takes so long to become an expert in my field.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just me trying to support my own journey, maybe. But people need to understand that if it's easy to get into an industry or if you can make money quickly in an industry, then it's just as easy for everyone else.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have all this competition. And then in sales, you know this, Ivan, why should I buy a car from you versus the guy that's across the street from you?
Right.
Everybody always wants to know why you're different.
Right.
And if there's more competition, then you're going to have to answer that question more and more and more.
More. Yeah, absolutely. I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey guys, they're going to ask you that question. Just be prepared to sell it, or not sell it, but tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Because guess what? At that point, they're shopping for a salesman. Someone's getting closed.
Okay, so we talked about the inventory stuff a little bit. Another question on that is, of the cars you have a very wide range on as far as price goes and variety of type.
Right.
But is it harder to sell the more expensive cars? Is there like a medium that's better because maybe everybody's shooting for a medium tier? Is it easier to sell the lowest cars? Like how does that play into everything?
So and most people, I'm glad you asked the question. Most people think that the higher end cars are the ones we make all the money on. No, not true, by the way. You can make the same on a Lamborghini as you do in a Corolla. No, so the cars that sell the most are the $35,000 to $50,000 price point.
Okay.
And if you look at my website right now, I have a lot of cars under $20,000. Why? We're going into tax time. People are going to have $2,000, $2,500 to put down. Most, generally people that would never have that kind of down payment. Guess what? We're going to have the inventory to facilitate those deals. But the $35,000 to $50,000, that's kind of the bread and butter, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we keep the $200,000, $300,000 cars, but those don't sell as fast. I might sell 2-3 of those a month. Mm-hmm. The $35,000 to $50,000, we sell 35 to 40 of those cars. So the bread and butter is that. The other stuff is just sexy, right? And it's nice to have. And yeah, we make money on those and we sell those too. But their bread and butter is the 35 to 50. But I keep inventory for, I don't want to just focus on one market. Mm-hmm. I want to tap every possible market, right? Whether it's a $10,000 car or a $500,000 car. But we don't make, our expense or our bills off the exotic cars. No, where we make our money is essentially the 35 to 50. That's what sells. Yeah. Because that's your daily driver or that's somebody's weekend car. And that's where the margin is, honestly. I've made the same amount on a $35,000, $50,000 car than I have on a $300,000 car, which most people don't believe that. And I'm like, I'm serious. It's not just because you see a big price tag doesn't mean there's a big markup. It's not. Yeah.
Do you feel like the nicer cars to a certain extent are almost just like a billboard? Like they're really just there to market the dealership?
That's exactly why I have them. It's a marketing deal, right? Yeah. Because like I said, we sell them, but people love to come in and it gets them in the door. Great. Yeah. If it works, it works, right? But no, I have those cars and I like to look at them too outside of my office, but we're not selling those every day. We're selling the other stuff every day. Yep. which is what keeps the lights on.
Yeah, but they're a marketing thing, and they're a differentiating factor.
100%.
And that's what goes back to you're the difference in you and another guy is that you have this really cool car that people want to come look at, and while they're there, they're like, "Oh, I've always thought about buying this new Lexus that's a few years old. That's $45,000.
Right, that's a one owner car, clean car, all that stuff." And they're like. And you'd be surprised how many times we've sold. I sold a family that just walked in just last week because their son wanted to look at a McLaren and a Lambo we had in the showroom, and the wife fell in love with one of our cars in our showroom, which was something was affordable. Mm-hmm. We sold her a car. So yeah, they're a billboard.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that that's important for people to know is like it's good to have a range of services and have something that's like this big thing. But a lot of times customers will pick the middle ground because it's also kind of a sales tactic where the middle ground looks cheaper when you have this really, really expensive thing.
Right.
And then you sell the middle ground easier because it looks so cheap compared to the really expensive thing. And when the margin is the same on both, then
Also,
it's a win.
yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, it's people always think they have this perception that these high dollar cars. I'm like, no, the margins are really much the same.
Yeah.
And not percentage wise. Like you might make $2,000 on a car, and you might make $2,000 on that Lambo. Like it's not crazy as people think.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah. Let's cover more of the sales stuff, commission stuff. Because I want you to explain, from your own experience, coming up as a sales guy, then being a sales director,
Right.
and then now owning your own dealership. I think one of the most challenging things for some business owners can be, how do I structure a commission? And I know each industry is a little different, but so the car sales has probably its own uniqueness to it.
Right.
But how do your commissions work with your guys? Like, how do you get them started? How do they continue going forward? How does that work?
So to put a pay plan together, number one, as an owner, you have to stress test it. Okay. If this guy sells 5 cars, 10 cars, 15 cars at this gross or that gross, okay, am I happy with what they're making and what the store's retaining? Right? Person that sells 20 cars can't make, what a guy that sells 5 cars makes. Can't happen. Just can't happen. So you got to have the little volume and gross kind of commission mix in there, but stress test it, because I've seen this, and it's happened to a lot of franchise stores that I worked, right? They would put this pay plan out and, hey, if you sell 30, you'll make X amount, 15,000, 20,000, right? Because no one's ever hit it. And guess what? These dogs come in and they hit it, and they're like, oh, we got to change your pay plan. And it always pissed me off because I was always the one that had to go in there and be the bad guy, like, hey, yeah, I got to change your pay plan. Why? Because they did something that you guys thought was unattainable. Not cool.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Exactly. And it happened to me too, right? When I was as a manager or director, oh, yeah, hey, by the way, you're selling 300, 350. Hey, we're going to change your pay plan. Like, what? You guys are selling 200 or whatever the case may be at the time. So when I put my pay plan together for my guys, I stress test it. And I was like, hey, look, and I told them day one, I was like, this pay plan will never change. It'll never change. You guys crush it, that's what I'll pay. And that's what I always tell all my guys. You put up the numbers, I'll pay. Because I know that it's a fair pay plan for the store, because the business has to be healthy. You can't be paying out $1 million and you're losing $200,000.
Right.
So I stress test my pay plans. I would say no matter what, stress test it, and don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. That's the biggest thing I've seen, not just the car business, but other businesses fails because they change their key players' pay plan. Take care of them and they'll take care of you. So stress test your pay plan. Make sure it makes sense for everybody, you, the business, and the person that's doing it. You can't expect someone to knock it out of the park and make kibbles and bits. They're not gonna last very long. It's already hard. It's hard enough to find good people. You don't think people are trying to recruit your staff every day? I had a guy just today call my store. I was like, hey, are you a sales manager? I'm like, no. He's like, because I'm looking to recruit somebody. I'm like, dude, I'm the owner. Get off my phone, right? So stress test your pay plan. Put it together. Make it about percentages. If it's sales, make it volume and gross oriented. So they don't, if you make it just volume oriented, they're going to give away the house. But if you make it gross oriented, if you mix both, they'll get a little bit of both. They'll sell some volume and retain gross.
Yeah. So did you just, I guess my brain works like an accountant. Yeah. Did you just pull out your Excel and just keep plug and play numbers to make sure that any scenario was going to work? Is that kind of how you did it?
Pretty much. Yeah. I'm very basic. I just pulled out a calculator. Okay. If I sold this, they'd pay this, the store to keep. That's exactly what I did for a couple hours. Yeah. And once you're in the business for a while, you kind of know what percentages work. Mm-hmm. That 10% is too low, 20% is too high. volume. If you're selling 8 cars, that's not great. If you're selling 15, now you're kind of cooking. So you just kind of find that happy median. And if someone sells 30 cars and they make 30 grand, hey, you got to pay because that's a outstanding job.
Mm-hmm.
And if they put up 100 grand in gross, you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly, that would be 30 cars. That's the work of 2 people. So yeah, that person might make the salary or the commission of 2 people, but hey, they earned it. So pay.
Yeah. So let's talk about both ends of the spectrum then. So for the new guy and then the guy that's just crushing it. For the new guy, like in sales, it takes a while to build up to actually make money.
Right.
Like it really doesn't matter to a certain extent how good you are. It just takes a while.
Yeah.
So how do you help those guys make enough money to cover their bills up into the point where they're actually making commission checks?
So, and this is normal. I'm not giving away any secrets. This is normal in the car business. You have what's called a draw.
Mm-hmm.
A draw is essentially, it's not a salary, but it's like, hey, for example, a $3,000 draw. I'll pay you $1,500 on the 15th, and I'll pay you another $1,500 on the 30th, right? If you sell 10 cars times your commission, you made, let's call it $6 grand, right?
Okay.
Then I've already paid you 3. I only owe you 3. Well, if you made 10 grand, I've already paid you 3. I owe you 7. So it's an advance, I guess you would say, against your commissions. But you don't break your draw 2-3 months in a row. It's bye, see you later. Because you're not in the car business to make $3 grand. You're in the car business to make 10, 15,000 as a salesperson.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. So if you're green, we call them green. If you're a green P, I'm like, hey man, this is what's going to be your pay plan. Then that's your pay plan forever. You're on a $3,000 draw, and you get paid a percentage off of this per every deal. And, on the 10th, so, 15th to 30th, whatever you exceeded, you get paid on the 10th of the following month. So that's what keeps the green peas enough to pay their bills. Most people don't have $3,000 worth of bills, especially younger guys. They don't. Older people, we're like, hey, I can't live off of that. But those guys generally have experience that they don't get consumed by the draw. They're like, hey, I'm not worried about the draw because I know I'm going to get my paycheck on the 10th.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing when I've interviewed, older guys, like tenured car guys, and like, hey, so what's my draw? I'm like, yeah, you're not the guy. Because if you're asking me about the minimum wage stuff, you can't work here.
Maybe we'll do a episode of Undercover Green Pea, and I'll come in and I'll push all your buttons, and we'll mess with all the sales guys. They'll be like, man, Ivan is he needs to let this guy go.
Oh, yeah. They would, trust me. Those guys would be in my office because it's their home.
Yeah.
Those guys would be in my office like, hey man, he's not it. You got to let him go. Yeah, they do that with vendors.
Yeah.
Like vendors that maybe I hired for washing cars or whatever. Like, hey man, this we're paying too much, which is great. I love that because they're my eyes and ears when I'm not around. Yeah. So I love that part of it.
So on the other end of the spectrum, let's ask a little different question. For sales guys, within the car business, do they develop this reputation to where they almost bring in a book of business if they come in and they're very experienced, or is it different because you guys are selling cars all the time?
So it really changed the last 6 years. Back when I was selling cars in 2009, those guys that were at that store for 15, 20, 25 years. I mean, I had one guy that I met a long time ago, Hardy Tadlock. He had sold 4 generations of families. And I mean, this guy would just sit in his office, and on a Saturday, there would be lines of family just waiting to talk to him. To just, okay, what car do you want? Okay, here's your deal. Boom, boom, boom. Here's your deal. Boom, boom, boom. Just, good for 25, 30, 35 every month. And he wasn't making one phone call. He wasn't taking one internet lead. He wasn't taking one fresh up, no walk-in, nothing. It was just automatic. Hardy's going to sell 35, 40. So back then, yes, he had built his book of business, but they just showed up. Now, with Facebook, Instagram, these younger generation of salespeople, they have a following, and I've seen them jump 4 different dealerships in 3 years. But it doesn't matter where they go; their followers follow them, and they bring their own book of business because they post on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and they have the following. And they're kind of the new generation of the Hardy Tadlocks, where wherever they go, their customers go with them. But they stay constantly posting, constantly engagement. Posting on Facebook Marketplace, and they kill it. and they sell 20 leads, and they don't take one phone up, one internet lead, strictly, repeat and referral or social media business, which is great, right? Because the car business has changed. It's no longer, you just sell generation of family. Now it's, hey, if you get a following, then you sell that person and their cousin and their aunt, and because now you're the guy, right? So that's what it's changed. So yes and no, it's changed. But yeah, if you hire an older veteran, they don't have a following like that. But the younger guys, they have a massive following. Yeah. Which now it's all about engagement and stay in front of your customers.
Yeah. So it's just the tool that a salesperson uses now.
Right. It's different. Correct.
Yeah. I gotcha. So here's a question that I thought would be interesting to talk to you about. Let's go a different direction first. You threw an event since the last time you and I chatted called Porsche and Pilates.
Yeah.
So how did the event go? Do you think it was good for the business? Was it just kind of a fun thing to do? Tell me about it.
I mean, it was my wife's idea. I wasn't there. I wasn't allowed to be there.
You didn't do Pilates?
No, I didn't do Pilates. I was not doing downward dog or any of that. No, but I think we got a couple deals out of it, so it worked. The girls really loved it. My wife loved it. I think everybody really enjoyed it, and we got, quite a few followers out of it. Your wife was there. She loved it. She loved it. I think we're gonna do another one. I think we're gonna do one every quarter because it's something that people don't do, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're focusing on this year is how do we set ourselves apart from the traditional dealership. So that was one event. Obviously everybody knows about cars and coffee. So I want to start doing something different to where it attracts people to the store. Because eventually, just like engagement, right? If you stay relevant, eventually someone somewhere is going to think, okay, Wolf Motor sells cars whenever they're in the need of something. So, no, I love that event. I think it was great.
Gotcha. Yeah. So another event coming soon?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we'll have it on this quarter. Kiara, you got to plan it.
All right. Well, you post it and we'll repost it. Let everybody know. Okay, so I think that it's interesting to see when people become entrepreneurs and finally bet on themselves that their friend groups start to talk about it and get to live through them and they all get excited together.
Yeah.
Have you had within your friend group or your family or just people that you know, have they watched you build this business that has become successful and then tried to branch out on their own because they saw how much it changed your life? Has that happened to you yet?
Yes. So I've had a lot of friends family and friends that, massive support on the business, and they send me as many referrals as they possibly can. And, I've had just my wife's best friend, Michelle, she was like, hey, look, I see what you're doing. And she's been a business owner as well herself. But now she's like, hey, she wanted to do something different. And she's like, it kind of invigorated me to, hey, let me go do my deal on my own again. And yeah, there's tons of people that are like, hey, it's crazy that, how I saw the demolition of the building and now you're here. And man, I feel like you give me inspiration that, maybe I should go start my own thing. And I'm like, absolutely. And the biggest thing that I tell them, like, hey, look, if you have any questions, you're going to be afraid. You're going to have fear. That's fine. If you have any questions, just call me. And I can point you in the right direction of where to start. Because it can be overwhelming at first. But I'm like, hey, just try. Just try. If you have a great idea and you're passionate about it, you're fine. And another thing that I guess a lot of people are also afraid or scared of, they're like, man, is this going to work? Are people going to like it? You'd be surprised. A lot of strangers that you don't know or you've never met will give you the most massive amount of support, and you never even met them, which to me was mind-boggling. Yes, my family and friends, but I expected it out of them, right? To show love and appreciate and, repost and send referrals. But there's been people that I've never even met that send me messages like, hey, man, love what you're doing. I send my cousin, my aunt, my dad to come buy a car from you. Never met them. So shout out to those people as well, because it means a lot to us when you don't know someone and they give massive love to your business. It's to me, it's probably one of the most heartwarming things that I ever had happen to me.
Yeah, I think that it's really nice to see stuff like that happen because, you see all this terrible crap about people hating on each other online. And it feels like sometimes that's all you ever see. And 100%. To see and experience complete strangers showing you love, right? I think that and being right before Valentine's Day when
Right.
we're recording, very fitting.
Very fitting.
I think that's like a huge deal and kind of remind you, hey, people are still good.
Yeah, no,
Not
100%.
everybody's terrible.
100%. And, sometimes those messages have happened when I've had the absolute worst day. Because being a business owner, I mean, every day is different. Every single day has been different for me. I don't have 2 days that are alike. And, sometimes you have a bad day and I've gotten home and I've laid in bed and I see those messages. And I'm like, man, that's really nice of them. That's really nice, right? And tomorrow's a new day. Let's keep going because someone out there is appreciative, is watching, and they love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Not everything's bad.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about this a little bit. I've heard the term hairy audacious goal. I don't know if you've ever heard that term.
Never heard that.
All right, so
You're going to have to elaborate.
Yeah, so I'll elaborate. Basically, what it means is people talk about this thing that is like absurd. If you hit this, it would just blow your mind that, 20 years ago you were in this place now, and then 20 years later you're, over the state of Texas or like all over the U.S. or
Right.
international. There's all kinds of different things. So when you are setting goals, because a lot of entrepreneurs are very goal-oriented people, do you set the bar way out there or do you set it just achievable enough to where you can get it? Has that changed? What do you do?
Kind of in the middle.
Okay.
I don't, my goal wasn't to sell like 1,000 cars or 100 cars. Because I'm like, that's, with the growth and everything else, it's, is it attainable? Yes. Would I have to like completely knock it out of the park? Absolutely. But I also wasn't putting goals like, I'm good if I did it here. No, I kind of put it in the middle to still make you grind. My brother, on the other hand, he's the one that's like, hey, this is what your goal needs to be. Like he puts it way out there. I remember when I had just got the car business and this was one of his goals that he had set for me. And I'm like, you're crazy. He's like, hey man, because he got me in the car business. He's like, hey man, I'll remember exactly when it was. I was at a club with him. I was 22. I'm like partying. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, isn't this crazy? I'm in finance. I'm making all this money. And he's like, dude, do you think I'm proud of you? I'm not proud of you. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, I won't be proud of you until you're my boss. I was like, what? And so like, it's midnight. I'm happy, right? And he just crapped me out. I'm like, hey, I just want to go home now. Like you're telling me that I'm, here I am thinking I'm killing it. I just got promoted. Like, we're out. No, he's like, I'm not proud of you. No, not until you're my boss will I be proud of you. And that really hurt me because he was my biggest mentor, right? Still is. And it really crapped me out. And I was like, for years, it was like, how am I, if you got me in this business, how am I supposed to be your boss? It just doesn't work. And I'm not his boss yet. So he's still not proud of me, I guess. We'll get there soon, one day. But no, he would set these crazy goals. So he's more like that. I'm more like, okay, let's set a goal like in the middle between attainable and crazy, outlandish, right? And like we set some goals, this year, and we surpassed those. So this year, I've set some really high goals, but I still think they're attainable. So I'm not, hey, we're going to be in every state in the next 2 years. In 10 years, I think we could do that. In 10 years, I think we could be in a couple states in 10 years. I think that's an attainable goal as long as we scale slowly and hire the right people and take care of the right people.
Yeah. I heard a lot of people talk about this because, we just kind of passed New Year's not that long ago.
Right.
And I think I really relate to this where I have a bad habit of setting a goal and then throughout the year I'll push the goal further.
Right.
And it's when you do that, you never achieve a goal because it's always moving the boundary. So what they talked about a lot was like writing down what does success look like in 2026? And then you've written down and you can't change it. So that when you get to the end of the year and you feel like you didn't achieve anything, you look back and you're like, oh, I did exactly what I set out to do. So it was a great year. What is it, maybe let's say 5 years, that if you were to look 5 years from now, what is it that would be like, that was successful for 5 years and what I wanted to achieve within that time frame?
So for Wolf, I want to have at least 2 locations.
Okay.
Number one. For business-wise, 2 locations for sure. I want to have at least, be selling 150 out of each location. So 300 cars. I think in 5 years.
And that's per month?
Per month. Yeah, absolutely. We're selling 50 now per month. So 150 out of every car, out of every store per month. There's some other stuff I can't disclose yet, but at least 2 stores, 150 have about $10 million in inventory. I'd want another store in California or a hot market because Dallas is a hot market, so is California. That would be the biggest goal. But to kind of go back to what you said earlier, people, you can write down your goal. Definitely write down your goal, right? But I'm a big believer in moving the goalpost because the goalpost has to move. If not, you're not going to grow, right? You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So if my goal was to sell 100 cars in the month, in 1 month, in the year of 2026, great. If I accomplish it by March, guess what? We got to sell 150 1 month in the year of 2026. So the goalpost has to move, and you got to have friends that are like that give that healthy competition. Like my best friend Cody Freeman, right? One of my best friends. He's like, we've always done this. We've always kind of chased each other, right? Mm-hmm. But it's healthy competition. The goalpost has to move. And I remember when we first started playing golf, I'm like, man, why do you keep counting your strokes? Why do you keep counting your score? He's like, if you're not keeping score, like, what are we doing here, right? So keep score. Yes, write down your goal. But once you achieve that goal, don't wait till 2027 to change it. No, what's the next step, right? If you sold 100, right, can we get to 125? Yeah. And if you hit that, can we get to 150? That's how you grow. You have to move the goalposts. But yes, write it down. So even if, right, you look back at the end of 2026 and whatever your goal was and you hit it, but you moved your goalpost twice, and out of that time that, you moved it twice, you've hit one of those goalposts, guess what? Did you have a great year? Heck yeah, you did. So 2027, what are we doing? Yeah. Right? We know that we're growing at this pace. You know that you can do this. So what can you really do? Yeah. If you really dive into your business and kind of don't focus on all the extracurriculars that aren't income producing or distract you from where you're trying to get. Yeah. But always write down your goals, but always move the goalpost when you hit it. Don't wait till the following year or the following month. Change it at that moment. Yeah. Well, I think that, people need to understand that January 1 is just a day. Like, you don't need to wait to January 1. You can start now. Yeah. So I think that's good advice. Celebrate your wins when you hit them. Yeah, but then absolutely. Set a new bar to hit. Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah. So let's kind of wrap up here with a few fun questions, and then the same way we always do. It. All right. So what is your favorite car that you've sold so far since opening? Since opening. Favorite car or coolest car? Like favorite car for me? Go ahead and answer both. Probably coolest car, probably the GT3 RS YSEC package. Mm-hmm. My favorite car was actually a buddy of mine's. It was an SF90, a matte black SF90, which was beautiful car. That's probably it was the most expensive car we sold. So that was a fun transaction. So those the GT3 2RS and the SF90. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we kind of talked about this, so I don't know if you have the answer, but what is the next event that Wolf Motors is doing? And it sounds like you're working on it. It's not quite there yet. It's not quite there yet. We're either going to do the Porsches and Pilates again. Well, we're definitely doing that again. But I want to do we did a Pokemon event. Obviously, my son being Mr. Wolf, he had a Pokemon trading card event. We had 50 vendors there, and it was cars. And you'd be surprised how many people are into. I'm into Pokemon cards, but Pokemon cards and cars. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool. But I really want to do a kicks and cocktails. Like my brother's a massive sneakerhead. So I think having a Kickspo event at the store with the cars, would it be cool? Kicks and cars. I don't know. I like it. My wife's kind of iffy on it, but I'm like, I think I like it. I'm like, you do Porsche and Pilates, I'll do kicks and cars. The friend of mine who's bought a car through you now, he definitely would be into the kicks and cars. Okay, cool. I think that man has 100 pairs of shoes in his closet. It is insane. Yeah. So I want to do that. And we will do it in 2026 for sure. Kicks and cars. I like that one. We'll definitely repost it when that happens. So. Last question, same as always.
what is the best advice that you could give to entrepreneurs now that you've been in a full year of business with things that you've learned?
Biggest thing is if you're married, include your wife in the business, right? Because it gives you support when you have a bad day, right? And when you have a great day, you guys can celebrate those together. She's been the backbone for me, especially when, the lows have been super low. She built me up when I've needed that confidence booster. That would be probably the biggest thing to me. But the 3 key ingredients to any business, I think, is have a great CPA, a great controller, and a great attorney, because that's going to be your foundation to how your business is going to run. You got to learn how to count them. You got to learn what you got to write off, and you got to protect yourself. And if you're looking for one, look no further, because, obviously you've helped me establish the foundation to my business. And I'm so appreciative because I've used you guys almost daily on how my business operates. So if you're going to start a business, no matter what it is, make sure you have, those strong 3 pillars, because it's going to me, I think it's going to determine whether you can succeed or fail, because you don't know what you don't know. And those 3 people are experts at their side of the business. And you're like, I'm an expert at sales, right? Cars. I'm not an expert at what you do. I'm not an expert at being an attorney. I'm not an expert at this. But those people in those roles are experts at their careers, and trust them and let them guide you by your hand to take you to where you need to be. So that's what I would say.
I think that's good, Ivan. Thank you for sharing all that. Before we wrap up here, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can physically find you on the internet, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at 16260 Midway Road in Addison, Texas. You can see us at www.wolfmotors.com. Give us a call. Instagram, we're at wolfmotors1. Follow us, DM us. I respond to all the DMs. So you'll be talking to me. Just let me know if you guys need anything. I'll be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks, Ivan.
Yeah, thanks, dude.